Welcome to the Mystical Truths Podcast. This is Rebecca, and I'm really glad you're here. Let's unlock your world. I know many people struggle with death, and I get it. It's a big change. It changes a lot, not just the fact that a person is no longer physical here. So many other things are involved. And it brings thoughts like, how do I go on? How do I know they're really still alive? One of my desires has been to help others go on and to keep their relationship alive if they want to. And that's one of the things I've helped Lisa with over the years. Her son Matt died suddenly, leaving the family in shock. But it didn't take long before the soul who was Matt started letting them know that life does continue on. So welcome to the show, Lisa. Thank you for being open to coming on here and sharing the story of your son and his passing.
Yes, Rebecca, thank you for having me on here today.
So it's been a while since Matt passed. Take us back to that day.
So I have two other sons that were younger than Matt.
Mm-hmm.
They were out playing and riding bikes, and my husband was out riding on the tractor. And it was actually a very beautiful, warm summer day. My oldest son had to go to the doctor's. He had a doctor's appointment. When he was leaving, he was running a little bit late. My husband was urging him to get going. But when he left, all of a sudden, this ferocious downpour of rain came. And he, at the time, about, I'd say 7 minutes down the highway from us, he hydroplaned and got T-boned and was killed instantly. We didn't know probably until about an hour later. That's when the police and the coroner came to the door.
So, it kind of shows us how life goes on and we're having our days and everything seems normal as usual. And then everything changes.
Exactly.
And there's always good in it if we're willing to look. But still, when it's your child, when you just sort of have it in your mind that people die in ABC order, that the old die first and then
Right.
the kids die and then their kids die. Yeah, we just have had that conditioned for the most part. So the last thing we're expecting is to have that happen.
Right.
Where people come to your door and say, we're sorry to tell you. So we know it's shock. It's something that takes a while to even just wrap your brain around.
Right.
And you have a belief that life continues, right?
Yes.
You had that belief
I
then.
always had the belief, even before.
And I think that has to help.
Yes.
Even though this is something we don't want to experience, we didn't think was going to happen, and we immediately just want our child back.
Exactly.
Just undo that, please, right?
Yes.
But, this is how life teaches us, that it's all about change.
It is.
And that everybody is okay. And we don't all come in for the same timing. We don't come in to maybe have more than, he was what, 18?
Yes, he was 18.
When he passed?
And 4 days after high school graduation.
So just when his life was changing and taking on anew, it really changed and took on anew for everybody.
It did. And we were actually preparing for his graduation party. I really didn't know what kind of graduation party it was going to be. He was graduating from this life to the next.
Yeah.
That's what I realized, that I had a different type of graduation in my mind, but that's really was his graduation.
So even with the beliefs that you have about life continuing, that absolutely helps. That has to help.
Yes.
Because to think that life doesn't go on or that my son was taken from me is torture.
Yes.
It's self-torture. But even with your beliefs, even knowing that life continues and that this is the way things can, when it comes into your own world, because I remember you saying to me, why me? Why my son?
Exactly. As so many others have.
Yeah. And of course that question is going to come up in anybody's mind.
Yes.
But the answer to that is because that's how things
Right.
work. That's how life works here. And that's why I like to help get the word out to people and help to just get people more comfortable with the fact that if we just live in the now and we appreciate the moments that we're in right now, and we do understand that this is all temporary, we're still going to be taken back
Mhm.
when somebody close to us passes, especially if they're younger or a child or whatever.
Exactly.
Of course, that's going to hit us for a minute, but it doesn't have to hit us so hard and so long. We can get to that celebration of their life if we're willing to just find the ease whenever we can. It doesn't have to be right away. People have said to me over the years, well, what if one of your kids died? And that's something I really thought about. I would not like it. I wouldn't want it.
Mhm.
But with everything I know, it would not be difficult for me to go to in comparison with a lot of other people.
Mhm.
Because as much as I wouldn't want that to happen, and as much as I want to have it the way I want to have
Right.
it, I understand that there's a bigger picture going on here. And who am I to say that soul should be here more than, like in your case, 18 and a half years?
Mhm.
I'm sure before you all came in, you knew he was going to be here for a little over 18 years. But with the amnesia we have, and we get dug in and we just get into this conditioned way of, well,
Right.
you'll be burying me long before it. And so
Right.
the more we realize, and that's why we have pets, because pets don't live nearly as
I
long as
know.
we do
Yes.
for the most part. And that helps us get used to that cycle of, I love you very much. And I wish I could do everything possible to keep you here, but I know I should not,
Right.
because we don't come here forever. And we really need to honor the in and out and the in and out of life. So, with that said, what happened aside from just trying to deal with, that big change? What happened in your family unit there? How did you get to know that Matt didn't really go anywhere?
It really wasn't that long before we saw proof that Matt went on. I think it was just the day after, or maybe 2 days after we laid him to rest, that I was sitting in his room and I was going through the sympathy cards and the masses and whatnot. And my husband was also there with me as we were sitting in his room. And my other two sons were actually sleeping down the hall in my bed, our bedroom down the hall. And I heard a young person call me, Ma, not just once, twice. And uniquely enough, that's what Matt used to call me. He never called me mom or mommy or
Hmm.
whatever. He called me Ma. And it was so strong that it startled both of us. And I thought, okay, that's what Matt used to call me, but maybe one of my other sons is just calling me like that, and maybe they're awake. And at the
Sure.
same time, I had about maybe 5 dogs that were barking ferociously, and they would sometimes jump up on the love seat that was right in front of our bay window, and they would see people are walking their dogs and obviously start barking. So I said to my husband, "Oh, our sons must be awake, or one of our sons must be awake. They called me, Ma, and the dogs are barking like crazy. They must see somebody walking their dog." So as I continued to just stay in the room and look through all the cards, he goes down the hall, and a few minutes later, he comes back with big eyes and his mouth hanging open. And he says to me, "You're never going to believe this." I said, "What?" "Our kids are sound asleep, like they are out of it. And the dogs are circling the kitchen and looking up in the air, barking."
Hmm. Now, did did you both hear
Yes.
Ma, or did you just
No.
you?
See, that's the
You both
beauty
heard it.
of it. That's the beauty of this.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
wasn't just me where people would say, "Oh, she's just in grief," or "She's just imagining things," or "That couldn't have happened." No, my husband and I both
sure.
heard it. And we just looked at each other and we figured, okay, like we knew that we knew Matt always called me Ma, but I figured, okay, maybe it was my younger son who really looks like his older brother,
Mhm.
and maybe he was just trying to comfort me. And then my husband came back and said, everybody is so sound asleep, and no one is out
Yeah.
walking, and our dogs are circling in the kitchen looking up in the air.
Because, of course, they can see things that we don't see.
Exactly. Yes, animals see the spirit world so much easier. And I knew right away that he was coming to let me know he made it and he's okay.
And that was a perfect
Yeah.
moment because you and your husband were both there and you were in a more calm state. It's easier for us to
Mhm.
receive when we're in more of a calm state or when we're just not worked up about anything. So there you
Yeah.
were just having that moment in Matt's room
Right.
and in perfect timing like they always do. And you both had the openness to hear it, and that's the thing. It's not that this doesn't happen for other
Right.
people. It's just that sometimes it's just more difficult for other people to get it or to acknowledge it.
Mhm.
The other side, like Matt would not have been upset if you guys went, "Ah, well, it was just our imagination."
Mhm.
He wouldn't have been upset, but it's just so much more fun when people
Right.
here get it and connect with it because the joy in your hearts
Yes.
is what he's all about at this point. You know, we're not in the physical, we're not missing anybody and we're not trying to impress anybody, we're not trying to interfere. We just it's all about the love and it's all about,
Mhm.
the union and the relationships that we
And it
have.
did really help and it did soothe our hearts, but I did have to learn that the more ease I could bring into myself, and it was a lesson, because we were grieving. But I
Yeah.
did have to learn that if we could be easy about the grief, and I did even get a message from Matt, and this message came in from another spiritual worker, and he said, and this is true, I was hesitant to let go of my grief because I felt that it was the only thing connecting me to him. And that was true.
Right.
I held on to it because I felt like, well, geez, if I let go of that grief, I'm letting go of him. And he told me it wasn't
Mhm.
true, that if I release that grief, and it goes true for everyone, we can have a more clear connection without all that static of the grief energy around us and in our own energy field, and we'll be able to hear and connect with our loved ones so much better. And it took me quite a while to
Mhm.
work myself through the stages of grief, and to be able to let go of some of that. And when I did, and when I was more open, I was more I was able to see, or recognize, I should say, the signs. I was able
Yeah.
to recognize them more and more freely. But when we're so deep in that, it is really hard for them to come through and break through that barrier.
Well, it's easy for them. It's completely easy for them, but you're right. It's the delivery or the acceptance is the difficult part, and that's on us
Yeah.
because and you said it, when you found your ease, the more you found ease, the more you were noticing
Right.
signs from him. And the technical reason for that is because they're vibrating at a frequency that is higher than the physical frequency. And so when we're feeling down, guess where our vibration is? Down, down, down. So the more down we are, the slower and lower we're vibrating. This is
Mhm.
just one way to think of it. And now you are further apart vibrationally.
Mhm.
It's just too big of a gap. They're still offering, they're still sending waves of thought, waves of love, but now we're vibrationally so far away. It's just very difficult to get a whiff of anything like that,
Mhm.
a recognition of any of it because we're so focused away from it and vibrationally not out of reach, but kind of, you could think of it
Mhm.
that way. So that's why when we have moments, even if we're just terribly in grief, even when people just have a moment where they're just more calm, they're just more at ease, now you're able to just get the wave of thought, and it just sort of, there it is. And it's not like he was in another room saying ma.
Mhm.
he was sending that vibration, and that's how you were able to interpret it. And the dogs, I'm sure, were seeing his energy.
Right.
And the funny thing is, I think it helps us too to recognize that he's not your son.
Mhm.
He was your son in this life, but that's it. Outside of this
Mhm.
life, we're not each other's mothers and brothers and sisters and cousins. We have connections, and once a relationship between two souls happens, it's always and forever eternal. Not always in the same way. It's not like you and your husband are married on the other
Mhm.
side or have the same relationship on the other side. So I think it helps us too to recognize that the soul who was Matt in this life is not Matt. He's all the good points you knew about Matt and a whole lot more.
Mhm.
And so when we think of them where they're at and who they really are, a broader version of who we knew,
Mhm.
now it's even easier. Because when we're looking here for them, that's tough. When we're looking for that person, that's tough.
Mhm.
Right? When we are looking through pain, that's
Right.
tough. So we're going against the ease of being available to them just by looking for that specific person and looking for them where they were, because they're not there anymore. You can't look where they were.
Mhm.
You have to look and direct your attention to where they're at now, who they are as a whole,
Mhm. Right.
and that they are wanting us to go on as best we can and not mourn them. When you're mourning somebody and thinking, this is how I honor you, because if I'm not mourning you, it might go off as like, I don't love you. If I'm happy and you've only been gone for like 4 days, then I'm just that can't be. Like, you're going to think I don't love you if I'm laughing or I'm happy and it's only been a day since you passed. And that couldn't be further from the truth. They all would love it, and we as souls will love it as we get better and better and better at this in and out stuff,
Mhm.
because it won't be the traumatic stuff that we've made it out to be. So if somebody passes and it takes you a minute, but then you start to think, what are you doing now?
Mhm.
What's it like for you now? How can you talk to me from where you're at now?
And I think we all have the capability to do that. I mean, some are better than
Mm-hmm.
others, but I think we all have the ability to communicate. And it's like anything else, you have to
Well, sure.
practice. One of the things that I think would help everybody is just knowing that whether it's a son, a daughter, a husband, a wife, a grandmother who passed, we're still all going to be connected through love. No
Yeah,
matter what we are on the other side or who we are or who we were here, we're all souls and we're all expanding. But I think the thing that helped me and I think would help everybody is knowing that if you love someone and you love that soul, we're always going to be connected through love.
absolutely. In a way, too, it helps in that if a person here has never had somebody close to them pass, they may find it more difficult to relate to the other side
Yes.
because they don't feel any direct connection if they haven't had a spiritual experience, or they just don't know how to, like, how do I even relate to the other
Right.
side? Once you have somebody that you were close to that has passed, now it's kind of like you have what people call eyes in the sky. Like, you have
Exactly.
a friend on the other side. You have somebody that you can relate
Right.
to,
Mhm.
that if they give you signs, or when they give you signs and you receive them because they're always giving them, it means
Mhm.
more, because you can say, I knew that soul as a person,
Right.
and that sign is directly related to something that connects me to that person. So it's not random, and it is very personal.
Right.
And so share some of the different signs through the years that Matt has given you that are more outstanding, because I know there's been so many, but some of the more outstanding ones, just to help people see that when they relax, they will get signs. Because I also want to talk about when people say, I get no signs, and why that is. And then I want to talk about why certain signs are picked. Why that sign? So give us an example of, especially the main one. There's a main theme that Matt's had over the years.
Matt's favorite, and sign is the smiley face. It's connected to
Mhm.
him through a story. He well, first of all, he always looked like a smiley face. He had chubby cheeks, and he was always smiling and always laughing, and even through difficulties, he found a way to smile. But so, yeah, his predominant sign to us is a smiley face, and we've seen it everywhere. Just in the very beginning, I can remember an instance where I was in traffic and, I'm just talking to him and I'm missing him and I'm vocalizing out loud and just having a conversation with him. And I'm in the right lane and I look to the left lane and there's a vehicle with a smiley face hanging from the rear view mirror, but the face is turned towards me and facing me. It wasn't
Mm.
twisted, it wasn't the other way, it was looking at me. And so many of those we're talking or missing or we'll even say sometimes, send us a sign, and right in front of us is a smiley face sticker on the back of a car, or we see Jeep with headlights that are smiley faces. One really huge sign that sticks out for me is I went to work one day and upon driving home, I had a little bit of a rough day, a little bit of a rough meeting. So I'm talking to him about it in the car and kind of kind of complaining to him about it. And I get down to the
Mhm.
bottom of the hill and there's a red light there and across the intersection is one of those huge Mack trucks you would see driving on a highway. And in the front,
Mm.
in silver letters, is Matt. Matt.
Nice.
It was so profound. I took a picture of it and developed it and have it hanging on my wall in my great room because, to be honest
Wow.
with you, I've been on many, many highways. I've never seen a name on a Mack truck in the
Mm.
front like that, let alone my son's, right? So, yeah, that was one of the most predominant.
Just the sheer timing of it. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, here I am coming down the hill, talking to him and ranting on and opening the door, opening that connection, and then boom, there's the Mack truck with
Mhm.
his name on it. And one of the other ones, and I think I talked to you about this one, my middle son when he was graduating from high school, and it was what was it, 2021? I think we were just coming out of COVID, but they still had to wear the masks. With his school district, they would take the seniors and go through the halls of the middle school and, with their caps and gowns on. And of course, at that time, they
Mm.
were in caps, gowns, and mask. And I happened to see it advertised on the Facebook, and I said, "Oh, I'm going to go on and see if I can see my other son." And as I'm scrolling through the pictures, I see him, and then all of a sudden, I almost fall off my chair. Two students behind Matt's brother is him. It it's him.
Mm.
It's Matt. It's Matt in a gown with a cap and a mask on. His hair, his face, his eyebrows, his ears, his I ran downstairs to see my husband and I said, "Look at this." He had to sit down. He had to sit down. I've
Mm.
shown his friends. I've shown my family members. They can't believe it. So, I think,
Wow.
this particular young man must have had a resemblance to my son, and he must have brought his energy. And I remember you saying he did. I
Mhm.
remember that. If you would just randomly show that picture to anybody that knew him, they would think it was him. That's it's just unbelievable.
And honestly, because what are the chances that kid is gonna look like Matt in that image just that day, be close to your other son?
Exactly.
I mean, we know it was a different person, it wasn't
Right.
Matt, but the image of and the appearance of, that's how energy
Yes.
works. That's how easy it is to make energy be what they want it to be for us.
One time we went on vacation and the hotel had a parking garage, and our car was parked in the parking garage but very close to where our room was. And right outside of our door, I don't know if someone used white chalk or how it got there. In the concrete was a smiley face right outside of our door. I know.
Nice.
So, but the thing is, and I'd like to say this to everyone: open the door of communication. Usually, what I do is I say a little prayer, and then I just call him in, and I just have a regular conversation with him. And now it's to the point where I've kind of played games with him. When I go to
Mhm.
work, I'll say, "Okay, send me your smiley face, but maybe send me the number of your birthday, or send me the number connected with the day you transitioned." And sure enough, I did that one day going to work. I saw the smiley face. I asked him for the number 19. I go into a lot of hospitals checking on students, and I went to go upstairs to the cafeteria, and you have to digitally, in this particular facility, pick where you want to go. And then it sends you a number of the cart that you need to take to get there. And wouldn't you know, it was number 19.
Of course.
And yeah, I mean, it's just been incredible, all the different signs throughout the years, which I am so grateful for. So yes, you are right. I have this relationship with Matt. It's different. I can't sit and
Mhm.
have a piece of pizza at the table, or I can't physically, like in the human sense, kiss his face. But I can talk to him, and he can talk back, and he can
Mhm.
show that communication through signs. And so I encourage anyone that's listening today, anyone that's had a heartbreak, to find their way
Mhm.
through that grief and the ease, and believe, and open up your heart, but open up the communication, even through writing or talking. Through all his signs that he sent me, I've even started to make signs up for other family members, and they've come through. They've come through. A lot of people say, "Oh, that's just coincidence," but I don't know about that. They're so particular, and what makes you be at a certain place at a certain time when you could have
Right.
went a different way and maybe not seen that sign. So,
Especially when it's so consistent and there's a lot of it, you can't say, "Well, that was a once in a while coincidence," kinda thing.
right.
And they say too, they don't want us to keep them too alive here. In other words, they go on and have your life and do your thing and just yes, you can certainly keep the relationship alive and keep it as part of your life. There was a woman that I talked to years ago, and her husband had passed, several years before we talked,
Mhm.
and she still had everything that belonged to him in the house. She didn't
Mhm.
move his clothes, his tools. He had all kinds of tools
Right.
in the garage, and I said, "People could be using those tools." Actually, that's what he said. He said, "The tools, like my
Right.
stuff, just let it circulate, get it out there." And I guess to her, that was keeping him alive, was keeping all his stuff there. They're not tied to any stuff that we have here. They're not tied to any of it.
Right.
That belong to them belong to us. Keeping them active and a part of your life just means to casually do that.
Mhm.
It's similar to like if Matt went onto a faraway planet. Let's say that we were going to start to inhabit a planet, and only certain people can go right now, and he's one of them. You're excited for him. You're sort of sad because it's far away
Right.
and it's going to be a long time before anybody else, like the rest of us, go there.
Right.
And let's say that you and your family want to go there eventually, but Matt's got to go first. And the only way that you can communicate with him, because it is a planet that is far away, is through thought.
Mhm.
You wouldn't be sad. You wouldn't be in the same way sad. You wouldn't be thinking, oh, he's gone. You would do whatever you could to just find the ease so that you could receive the transmission from him. And then you would talk to him. Because if the plan is, if we just send thought, whether we say the words out loud or not, if we
Mhm.
just think of each other and have a conversation, you won't know it, but that conversation is going to make it to the other planet
Right.
because energy doesn't know time or
Exactly.
space.
Yes.
And so even though it's not like we're doing right now, where we can just talk back
Right.
and forth and hear the words. If we were sending those thought waves, knowing that they'll make it, and then he'll send some my way, and I'll send some his way. And now we don't have to do it all day long every day, because he has stuff to do on the planet. You have stuff to do here.
Right.
Just like when we are here together, when we're here physically together, we don't take a person and say, okay, we're going to be around each other all day long, every day,
Right.
24 hours a day. We have to have this communication. Drive each other crazy, right? We want to go do separate things. We want to go to work over there. We want to go shopping. We want to go out with friends. We want to go do different
Yeah.
things, and still be with that person most of the time. So when you're out to lunch with your friends, you're not thinking, oh, but I'm not with that person. Or your kids, like, I'm not with my kids right now. That's terrible. I'm should have my kids here all the
Right.
time. No, we think, have your life. I'm having my life. This is healthy. This is good for us.
Yeah.
So there's that too. They're not expecting to come out to lunch with us when we go out with friends, if that's not something that normally would have been a
Right.
thing, or has any real purpose in that moment. So it's helpful for us, I think, to just use that analogy of, what if it's, because it is really like that. He's not on a different planet. He's just not physically focused anymore, but he's still very much alive, very vibrant. More than ever is it easy for him to communicate this way. So it's very simple for them. There's no work involved. It's none of that. And they're not necessarily doing it constantly. It's not like he's in another, or in non-physical, we'll say, and he's constantly focused on what you and your family are doing here. But he is always aware. He's always aware. So he doesn't have to be just looking and watching. He's just aware.
Every time I talk to him, which probably is every day, he doesn't always come in every day. There isn't, I
Sure.
mean, the signs are predominant, but there's times that, okay, I didn't get a sign today, or it didn't go exactly the way I planned, but maybe 2 days later it will.
And more likely, it's just that you're not receiving in that moment. It's just your antenna's up, but nothing. You're just not letting anything
Right.
in that moment, and that's okay. And that kind of leads us into, so why do some people never get signs? I've had people say to me, I get nothing
Right.
from any of them that have passed. And that can be for a few different reasons. You're not really expecting to. Maybe you're afraid to, because somebody has taught you it's spooky or it's bad. Maybe you're just so tied up in life here, or so upset that they're not here, that you're too vibrationally far away.
Right.
I met a gentleman years ago who said this man was probably in his 70s, and he said his adult son passed. He was a police officer. He had a health condition that he just didn't want to tell anybody about. He knew it was going to kill him. And just his means of exit, that's what every death is. It's a means of exit. And so he just, that's the way he wanted it to be. Probably because some people just don't want to deal with the pre-death mourning, like saying goodbye and all that kind of stuff, and just all the sadness. Yeah. So his son passed, and it had been some time since his son passed when he and I were talking, and he was just so down about it. I said to him, like, why? This looks painful. And he said, it is. He said, I don't care if I die tomorrow. I'm not enjoying this life at all. I'm miserable since he passed. And I said to him, I know for sure that your son is not wanting that for you. The soul who was your son does not want that for you. And I said, if you had passed and your son was here, would you want your son to be miserable for the rest of his life just because you were here for a while? The fact that you had a life here, would you want that to be the cause of misery for him for the rest of his life? And he said, absolutely not.
Right.
And I said, well, then what are you doing?
Yeah.
Why do that to yourself when it's not what they want? If you can do it, we're free enough to do it. And they're still paying attention. They're still loving. They're still offering the relationship. And even though we're just so pinched off from it at that point, we think, he's just dead and gone. And sure, I can't talk to him. What are you, crazy? I can't ever be happy again. I should have been there. I should have done something if I'd only.
Mhm.
We can do that all day long, and we're not
Mhm.
helping ourselves or anything else.
Right.
If we can just get on board with you're not going to reconstruct creation.
Yeah.
We don't have a broad enough understanding of what's really going on here to make decisions about how this should be played out.
Right.
And even though we are connected to the whole, why would we, in a human experience where we do remember very little about the whole, why would we look at life here and decide, just from our perspective, this is how things should be changed? This should be different. That should be different. That's ridiculous. That doesn't make any sense. That's wrong. That's bad. We make all these judgment
Mhm.
calls. And of course, all of creation, the other side, nobody's upset by any of that. They get it.
Right.
But they are thinking, I'm sure, something along the lines of, oh, you fickle humans.
Yes.
Just from your perspective, we get it. We get it. However, relax. We've got this. You're all okay. Nobody's dying, really.
Yeah.
It's just a withdrawal of focus from the human experience. You've done it before. You will do it again. And if you would not take life so seriously, you would see that there's nothing serious that needs to go on here.
Mhm.
We put the seriousness into things.
I mean, it's definitely a human challenge to
Sure.
have that what we consider loss, but it's a big change, and they're really not lost, but making when they make their transition,
Mm-hmm.
especially if it is a child, and it's a challenge and it's a journey to find
Mm-hmm.
that ease.
It is understandable because we're very physical, and this we think this is all reality has to offer us
Yes.
is what's right here. And so we get pretty dug into it
Right.
and pretty used to it. So I certainly see it from that
Right.
perspective. But the option is there to lighten up about it and to
Right.
broaden, like loosen up and look around. What's really going on here?
And once we do, then we find, as you would say, the honey in it, and we can find that it helps ourself and helps that pain that we were carrying because we can find a new relationship and see that our loved ones have just transitioned, but they're not really gone. They're not really lost. You mentioned that some people don't get signs at all.
Hmm.
Then not everybody has the same style of sending their sign.
Hmm.
I think even the souls have their own style. Am I right? I mean, do you agree?
I would agree, but and they're also taking into consideration how you knew them here,
Right.
because you will receive them in a way that matches how you knew them here. So if they were very funny, even if it was just the two of you were very funny together,
Right.
they'll use that because that will work. That'll be helpful for them to use that. They're not going to come through in negative ways. They're not going to come through, even if they were very bitter. They might mention that yeah, I was pretty bitter when I was there, but they're never going to come through in bitter or mean or hurtful ways. There's never any of that. And I've been barking up this tree for most of my life, right? And I can tell you, I have not heard anything
Yeah.
negative come from non-physical. That to me has proven over the years that it is pure love, because it's so unconditional. We tend to be very hard on ourselves. We're very hard on life. We're very hard on death. We're very hard on situations. It's okay. We can do that, but we don't have to. What if we just say, I'm going to get easy about this. I don't have to like it at all. You still don't like the fact that Matt left at 18 and a half years old here.
Absolutely. I'll agree.
You don't ever have to like it.
Yeah.
From a soul's perspective, we can certainly
Mhm.
respect that and say, well, if that's the length of the journey this time in, well, that's who am I to say you should have stayed longer,
Right.
right? And we can't stop that train anyway.
Right.
So when we can come to terms with just the absolute love that is being offered, then we won't make comments anymore like I lost my so and so, or my daughter was taken from me, or my mother's probably rolling over in her grave because these people are doing this thing, or I hope my ex-mother-in-law doesn't try to come through because she was so mean and she didn't like me. And
Right.
all of that's all just silly human talk.
Yeah.
Because there's no judgment. They're not the personality you knew here in any negative
Right.
sense. They're all the positive aspects, but a whole lot more than that. And so, yeah, the signs that they deliver, it's just the waves of thought that they're offering. And they'll try a different angle. They'll try this angle just to kind of see what we'll pick up on. And so they do have their very intelligent ways of helping things synchronize so that we'll be surprised and delighted, or
Right.
at least so we'll wonder. Because I've
Yeah.
had several people over the years say to me, this happened and it was so amazing. Was it real?
I did.
And I'll say,
Yeah.
well, you were there.
Yeah.
You were there. Did you have that experience? And they'll say, yeah, I did. Well, then it's real.
Yeah. People doubt it.
Mm-hmm.
I was just thinking one time I was talking to Matt and I said, okay, of course, send me the smiley face, but hey, I'm going to throw this one. Send me a blue butterfly. And then I made a joke and I said, I don't know how you're going to come up with that one. And I went off and did what I had to do for the day. And that had to be about a week, maybe a week before Mother's Day last year. And wouldn't you know, my 2 other sons gave me a gift for Mother's Day, and on the bag was a blue butterfly.
Naturally.
It could be fun. It really can be.
Yeah. And, once you get used to this and you get comfortable with it, then it's not just them. It's not just about the people you knew here that have passed. Now you get to understand that there are a lot of souls that are available to you. Some that you have not known physically in this life, but you do know very well. And I've never been one to be just what people call airy-fairy. And that's just not me. It's not my style. It's not the way I go about this. So I am pretty matter of fact, and I do have to prove these things to myself. And so I do get it when people say, I don't believe any of that. It's all baloney. I get whatever. I get it. But it does make sense to me. And I have proven it. It has proven itself to me, I'll say.
Right.
Even so, like just not that long ago, I was laying in bed one morning and I thought, I could stay in bed longer today. I could sleep in. I don't have to be anywhere anytime soon. I can just lay here. And then I kind of felt like I just felt that sort of nudge to get up. And so I said, okay, whoever, because I'm not addressing anybody specifically when I do this. What would be better for me to do right now? Just let me know. Was it better for me to get up right now and get my day going? Or would it be better for me just to snuggle in here for a little longer? And within just a few seconds, I felt this tap, like this pressure on my leg. And it wasn't anything else. It couldn't have been anything else. It was just this tap on my leg. And I said, okay, all right. I get it. I get it.
Time for
Now
you
it
to
would
get
be
up.
good to get up. It would be good to get up. And I said, but I just want to be sure I got you right. So if you could just one more thing. And my phone, which was on the nightstand beside my bed, gave off this weird tone that I don't even know what it was for. Not one I generally hear. And it was just a little short tone. And I thought, there it is. That couldn't have been any more sure. I couldn't have been any more sure. It was a perfect sign for, okay, the tap and then the sound. I gotcha. I'm up. Thank you. And the funny thing is, I have free will, so I could have just said, no, I'm just going to stay here. I could have done that, but I know enough to know that I asked the question, which would be better for me, my life, my day, whatever synchronized, what would be better? Because sometimes it is better to just snuggle up and stay there for a while.
Absolutely.
We don't have enough information to actually make that decision as well as they do. They have a broader vision. They see what's queuing up for the day. They see what would be beneficial. And so the answer was, yeah, if you're asking, we're answering. Right now would be a really good time to get up and go ahead with your day because it's going to synchronize even better than if you would stay there longer.
Right.
Now, am I asking? I don't ask all day long every day. Should I pick up this cup and drink my water? Should I make my tea now? I'm not looking for, we can be in the flow and getting the guidance. You just get a sensation that, oh, now I feel like I just want to go make a cup of tea. Then go make it. That's the whole energetic flow of synchronicity that you're in. You have the free will not to. Like, for instance, yesterday, was Saturday, and I have these glasses that I ordered online, and they came and there's a little issue with them. So they said, put them back. We'll send you a label. We'll send you a new pair. We'll fix it, whatever. And so I was going to go to the post office yesterday and drop them off. And I just didn't. I just couldn't go. Like, I felt I should go because I thought I'm busy Monday, Tuesday. I just couldn't go. I just didn't go. There was nothing in me that wanted to go to the post office, so I didn't go. This morning, I got an email from that company saying the picture you sent, because I had to send a picture of the glasses on my face so that they could adjust them correctly.
Right.
We can't use the picture. Please send another picture. And I thought, oh, well, there it is then. I still have the glasses here. I just opened the package, got the image they wanted, send it to them. All is well. Now I'm free to go ahead and ship those glasses. So this is just how one of those ways. Was it my mother? Was it my father? It's all of them. It's just life itself saying, yeah, you just don't go to the post office today. I had no urge to go at all. And so I know to pay attention to that, because even though my brain's saying, you should go today, this is the best day for you to go, my inner stuff just wasn't going there, so I didn't. And that's just one example of how we can listen to the sensations that we're feeling, because we're always being guided. Right. The suggestions are always available from multiple points. It's up to us whether we think right over top of them. And I've done that too. Where I knew I had that feeling, or I knew that, and I did it anyway. But you learn when you do that. So it's not bad. It's a good way to go, oh yeah, okay. See, I'm getting better at this.
Yeah. If we get out of our head and trust our instincts a little more. But then, like you said, we all have free will. And
when we realize that the stream is always there, the guidance is always there, whether it's from specifically the soul that was Matt, or your grandmother, or somebody else. That's nice. That's really nice. But they don't care if we give them the credit or not. Honestly, they don't have that kind of ego stuff there. It's not like, well, wait a minute, I gave her that sign. I hope she knows it's for me. Did she know it was for me, or did she think it was just from all of sort? There's none of that. Right? She got the sign. That's just, there it is. She heard us. She picked up on that. Isn't that wonderful? Because I don't know if it's ever just one soul anyway.
Yeah, it's true.
Because there seems to be such a blend of, it's hard to describe, but there's just a blend of offerings. And they don't mind. Say it was your grandmother or the soul and some others, that your grandmother was in the mix, and they're sending you this guidance, and you're calling it, oh, it's from Matt. You're totally thinking that came from Matt. There's nothing about them that goes, oh, set her straight, man. That was not from Matt. That was from us. There's none of that. They're just happy that you got the information and that you want to do something with it. So it is about just that pure, unconditional ease of love.
Yes.
And none of them on the other side are more holy than us or more anything else. We're all that. All of us are.
Yeah. And it's good to know. It's a good feeling.
It is a good feeling. And
hopefully I've helped some people that are listening today, and you also, us together, that, it's okay to feel what you're feeling, but try to find some ease, and you can once again feel the love of that loved one.
And sometimes it takes just a moment, whenever you feel like you're ready, to just sit with yourself, and don't search for them out there, because they're not out there. Just sit with your own energy, quiet your mind as best you can, and just pay attention. Be curious. Hey, are you there, really?
Yeah.
I'd love to know. I would love to know. Are you really still with me? Like, how does this work? And then just shut up.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because if you keep talking, you can't listen. You've got to listen at some point. And if you can't listen then, it's okay. You'll listen sometime after that. They'll find that little crack of moment when you're not being resistant or you're not being hard on things. They'll find that moment where something will just seep on through, and you'll get it. If anybody out there is wondering why, or why do I get maybe a sign from this one that passed and not that one? It may be because you have some kind of block against it somehow, or the timing isn't. People say things too like, my so-and-so said that once they pass, they're going to show me this sign, or they're going to give me this information. And then they'll say, the person passes and they'll say, it's been like 10 years and I've been to mediums, and I'm not getting that sign, because you're looking for one specific thing and you're looking hard for it. Relax. Just, if it's going to come, and you may have missed it 500 times between then and now.
Right.
Because you're looking for it in a specific way, in a very structured way. Let it happen organically. Just let it be a natural thing, and let it come when you're ready to receive it. Because when we're hunting for it, you know that when you were looking for Matt, when you were searching for Matt, you couldn't find him, you couldn't get him.
You're right.
Because we're looking out there and we're expecting certain things.
Right.
We want certain things from them. And just, sorry to tell y'all, but it just doesn't work that way. We've got to do this together, and we've got to find that ease.
Yeah, you're right.
And then it is just fun. It's just fun. It's simple. It's fun. Does it happen all day, every day? No. Does it happen every day? Not necessarily. Can it? Sure. But you're having your life here. So have your life here, and know that they're very much interested in it. But, you don't have to make it where they're just always, always, always talked about and contributed to and things like that. We can let it be a casual thing.
When the person that's grieving, when they're ready, when they find their ease, I think it all kind of comes together.
And I'm sure that we will keep progressing as a people to where we don't have to go through all of those steps of grief that we've labeled.
Right.
The more understanding we become of this, the more quickly and easily we will allow this process to be something that we really appreciate and celebrate and honor. Again, maybe we don't like it, but we can learn to like it. Because when it's, think of it this way. If a woman is pregnant and a soul is now focusing partially through that baby and coming into this life, there's nobody on the other side that goes, oh, you're leaving. Oh, man. Like, we are so sad. You're going into a life. First of all, only a small percentage of us focuses here, but you kind of get how odd that is. That we would, a soul comes into a life experience here, has that life experience, withdraws from it, and we all get all crazy about it. We get all sad and tortured by it, and we make days and sometimes years of misery out of it. Don't need to do that. We just don't need to do that. And I, for me, I get it. I was just listening to, I'm editing a podcast that I just did, and there were some very tender moments for this woman in there. And I had tears in my eyes. I'm not saying that we don't have the human emotion.
Exactly.
And that these things, we have our Lassie moments, and it's okay. But the more we really wrap our brains around the natural, beautiful process of life, the easier we're all going to get about it. And then it's not going to hurt so much. And maybe at some point it won't hurt at all.
That would be great.
Yeah, it will be. We'll get there. So thank you so much, Lisa. This was a lot of good information, I think.
Absolutely.
And I'm hoping that it does help people find that ease. And yeah, it's a thing, but we can get past it if we can see those signs.
Yeah, thank you for having me. If anybody wants to also connect with me, they can find you, and I'd be happy to talk to anybody along the way.
Wonderful. Thank you all for tuning in as well. You can find me at mysticaltruths.com.